And he realized that he's now by the Rebbe, like the Rebbe says, Oil is a Yechidus. And in this moment, he connects to the Rebbe. He could walk out of the Oil with the same ergesh and the same change in his life, like a bochur by Dallas, Sonny Dallas.
There's another integral component to a pan, which is called the May pan. If you want to learn more about what this is, stay tuned later in the episode. If you've been enjoying this podcast, please like and subscribe so that others can enjoy it as well. In addition, if you've benefited in any way from Among Chassidim podcast and would like to give something back, you can do so today at derher.org/donate. I'm Yossi Kamen. Welcome to Among Chassidim by Derher, an ongoing Farbrengen about life as a chassid, our vibrant connection with the Rebbe, and inspired living shaped by the way he teaches us each and every day. Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi Mann, how are you?
Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem.
Okay, thank you so much for making the time. And I would like to begin. And I know you somewhat from many years ago when I was in the Sifta in Toronto, but I never learned by you, but I sat by some of your farbrengens. But before, I would like to know from Vanant Mekumt, where you come from, and I understand your father is alive. I know from Yerushalayim, and there's a history there. So maybe you can start off with that.
So, actually, everything is Ashgocha Pratis, Kamuman. But the Rebbe says that whoever was put into Chetmimim is Ashgocha Meyuchedes, Ashgocha Pratis, that the Rebbe Rashab, the Marangelek Chetmimim, the Rebbe Rashab put him into Chetmimim. In my father's story, you see it mamish in a tangible way. He was a Yerushalmi, a Koda Yerushalmis, and some of his brothers went to other yeshivas. One of his brothers, Taki Atomim, also. Modemo brother. But Akopanim, he learned in Etz Chaim, which is a cheder, and then Yeshiva Ktanim, a Sifte. And officially was supposed to continue in the program. But Bashgora Pratis, the cheder learned the same Masechta that they learned in Shur Aleph, Yeshiva Ktanim, the Sifte. So he didn't like it. He asked them to change it. They didn't want to, because the yeshiva had their seder. So he made a ganze balagan. He's a chaverman, my father's a gesund, he's a chaverman. It's time to understand, he's a real estate agent, he's a businessman. It's part of his personality. He used to have a lot of money, a big balzdokeh. So he's a chaverman beteva. So he organized a ganze das for... And they were not ready to change it, so he looked for the different yeshiva. And different yeshiva was Teras Emes. Teras Emes was a Lubavitcher yeshiva in Yerushalayim. It was a good quality Pashto learning in Nigle. Was a good Rosh Yeshiva there. And what to do with Chassidus? Yeah, Chassidus, no Chassidus. It's a good yeshiva, but not good Nigle. So he decided to go there. Yeah, and interesting that they changed then Etz Chaim. After the whole balagan, they already changed a different Masechta. But my father was already, the Eibshter already had his plan to send him to Chetmimim. That was like the rest is history.
This is like in the Yuds? When is this?
That was in the Yuds. Mm-hmm. My father's again said something very interesting. I'm saying it's that when the Shluchim of Tzisrael came to Tavshin Zayin, it was then a bochur. It was the first time they knew what a Rebbe is. That there is a Rebbe, a new Rebbe. They knew about the Frierdiker Rebbe, they knew some Chassidim of previous generations, v'chulu, Chassidish Yidden, Eivdei Hashem. But they knew that the Frierdiker passed away and they knew Rebbe. But they didn't know what is the Rebbe. And the Shluchim came, they saw Chevre giants in Nigle, in Chassidus, in Chaverman, speaking, Afat Sayad, Afat Samayones, all bochim. my father told me, then the thing that Israel started to say, as for an Rebbe of the world. The thing is, the Keiroi, in our situation after Gimel Tammuz, when you see a Lebedik Chassid, you see a Chassid, a Shliach, the Mam's a Mensch, is in Yeshiva, Chinuch, or even a Balesik, but you see a Meus, Niglech, Chassidus, Yerushalayim, Chassidishkeit, full of Simcha, Avos Yisrael. You see a Rebbe. You see that he's a Rebbe of the world. It's very interesting.
Yeah. So he's into SMS, and because of that, he fell into Lubavitch. That's what so at that point, he ever came to the Rebbe though, then or later? Like what happened then?
So my father's. I want to say I'm saying my father's a gesund sein. Erstens, kibbutz avayim. And also, a very interesting story with the Rebbe personally. A very big story. He was בהשגחה פרטיס, he was a zeicha begoyrel 2 times. Tavshin lamed ches and Tavshin mem beis. Says one time was my mother, because woman was also zeicha begoyrel, part of the goyrel. And by the kibbudim and the koved that the zeicha begoyrel was supposed to get, the husband used to get if he came along. So one of them was my father, one of them was my mother. Ze gesund sein. So Kitzav was Tavshim and Beis, Erev Sukkos, Tavshim and Beis, and the Rebbe gave out.
So till Lamed Ches, so he came to the Rebbe the first time Lamed Ches?
No, I'm going to speak about it soon. I'm just giving a small introduction about Stam. I'm saying Father's gesund sein. I'm very mentioned before that he's still alive. Leich Yom Mishanim Teves, as a Leb Moshiach and Beis Hashem, Kipshutei. So I'm just describing a story that brings it out. That it was a zeicha begel 2 times, Tavshin lamed ches and Tavshin mem beis. One my mother. So Erev Sukkot, Rebbe used to give out Daled Minim to representatives of the whole world. Remen Futterfass used to get for Yidden from Russland, and so weiter. And the zeicha begel used to get also a chelik of it. So the saying was that he got Adasim. So he comes there to Gan Eden Tachten, and he takes 3 Adasim, and takes more than 3 Adasim. The Rebbe fragt him, wie viele Adasim nimmst du? So he says, I take 3 for myself, and 3 I want to take for my Ost. Rabbi Reinitz used to be Shlomo Reinitz, used to be a mashbak also. He lived in Kronitz. That was a Yerushalayim, so my father used to stay by him. He said, ich nehm 3 von mein Balabas für ich stehe ein. Das ist zu sein gesund.
Das ist sein gesund.
My father is gesund sein, he's saying now, Kapitel Tzadigim.
Wow.
And he's going to walk, v'chulu, a word from him. Das ist zu sein gesund. Even though, you could say, ist doch sein gesund, is an expression in Yiddish, like, no,
zu gesund.
Zu gesund, like, soll sein.
Right.
But as the Rebbe sagt, das zu sein gesund, tut das suf. Anyway, Jakobanim, so back to the history of my father. He was at Tomim. And then he got close to the Rebbe, he did Mesiv Shabbos to the Rebbe, v'chulu. And I think Tov Shulchov Ches, he was by the Rebbe the first time. How do I know? Because he told me that he was there, I think the first year that they made Tashlich by the Rebbe. Next to some 70 instead of walking. So if, according to this, I think the first year was Tov Shulchov Ches, so he was at Tov Shulchov Ches. And then he came to the Rebbe every year or second year. Mamish, very often. If it was 3 years ago, it was a big chiddush. Because my father...
That was unusual.
Used to money. Yeah, he used to have money. He was a nogid. Someone not just... nogid means someone not just have money. Gives a lot of tzedakah. It's a cute story with, that I discovered only later. He tells me one day, Reb Zusha Valimovsky is a good friend of mine. Every Elul used to come into my father's office, real estate office, still existing, still doing that. He comes there. Elul used to come, Rabbi Yankov Leiser. Gestern I gave me halvoy. Could you lend me out money for a ticket to go to the Rebbe? And it was clear, it was halvoy shelo minas laachzim. We both understood each other that it's not meant, this borrowing money is not meant to be paid back. And weißt du, das, come on, Reb Zusha was like one of the center of some say of the Chassidim that came to the Rebbe every Tishrei.
So your father paid his tickets.
Yeah. Akapanim say was that of Ches, and then he came to the Rebbe Mamish very often, and he had a seder that he took his kids to the Rebbe, my sisters older than me, and then came my turn. Tov Shimon Beis was the first time he took me to the Rebbe. I was before Bar Mitzvah. It was mamish amazing. Mamish. I was 11 years old, almost 11 years old. It was merdik as a child. I saw a merdik and that what you remember as a child, certain things, there's nothing comparable to what you see later. In other words, I'm saying it's a chinuch to kids, that there's certain things that wird nirkak and it gets engraved in you, and you see it in a very sincere and emes way that you don't have it even later. There's few incidents that I remember, but Akapanim that the nekuda, that's one of the nekudas that I saw experience, and I'm very thankful to my father that he took me as a child and then after the bar mitzvah.
I imagine not many of your chaverim went to see the Rebbe at that age.
Right. Even though Yerushalayim had a very interesting thing, that by them the Rebbe Bechav was a very strong nekuda, and a lot says to go to the Rebbe to have a passion, a love to the Rebbe was a very strong thing in Yerushalayim. It says whoever was connected had a very strong connection. Interesting that not necessarily so much the Rebbe Steire didn't arrive in Yerushalayim in those years so much, but the Rebbe personally and the Rebbe's Miftzoim was very strong. I saw, Mashgach Pot is the library, a good Chabad library, started to publicize things duches that they wrote to the Rebbe. So it says over there, duch from the Lamets, that they went to Miftzoim to a town in Yerushalayim, Irganim. Irganim is like officially a very frei, not frum area, and says that the driver was Rabbi Avrohom Mann, because he had money, yes, he had a car, and he drove the people. And I can remember as a child that Friday he used to take me to Miftzoim. Friday, other opportunities, he took me to Miftzoim because it's the Rebbe's Inyan. In other words, the Rebbe personally and the Rebbe's Inyanim had gebrennt. Very interesting. Mit ganze Yerushalmi. But the Rebbe attracted them. The Rebbe personally and the Rebbe's Miftzoim, the Rebbe's Inyanim was mamish to get to them.
So you there Membeis for Tishrei?
Yeah, I was there Membeis Tishrei. Actually came Sase Metshuva we came. It's interesting that my father was a chiyuv. His mother passed away half a year before. And sometimes it's very hard to find minyanim. To organize minyanim, people should not just, people should be with you, not just people officially, but people should answer to your chazos hashatz v'chulu. So he was thinking maybe this year not going to go. His chaverim said, listen, come, we're going to help you out with minyanim. Because money wasn't the issue. The technicality to organize a minyan 3 times a day wasn't easy. So they told him, come, we're going to help you. And he came, and maybe the broche that he got, or saying Gesund, was in this year was for him not easy to come. And he got this special broche. Maybe. We don't know what's happening up there and down here, but it's a good lesson. That when you go to the Rebbe, when it's not so easy, it's even a bigger accomplishment.
Oh, okay. And I'm imagining from the Yuds and whatever, there's letters also back from the Rebbe that he got. I'm imagining, I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's for sure letters, and even a shidduch. I figured out that I could close a shidduch with my mother was a broch of the Rebbe, and not just a broch of the Rebbe. My Baba, my mother's mother, wasn't so excited about the shidduch. We said some technical reasons, the age gap, whatever, between there's some technical reasons originally, but she got the answer of the Rebbe, and that's what made it. So they got a letter of the Rebbe that the Rebbe is masking to the Shidduch.
She wasn't a Lubavitcher.
No, not Mavitcher. She's
She got a letter.
yeah, she was. Rabbi knows that she was very close to a tzaddik. His name was Reb Shlomke Zvilam. He was very, very, very close to the Frierdiker Rebbe. He was a Taka Bal Madrege. He said about people complained to him how come the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Frierdiker Rebbe, and the Rebbe speak about Mashiach. Frierdiker Rebbe was. He said how come speak about Mashiach? Everyone knows that in Yiddish there's expression. Wer sie weiß nicht, und wer sie sagt, weiß nicht. Whoever speaks about it doesn't know. Whoever doesn't know speaks about it. So how come the Frierdiker Rebbe speaks about Lubavitch? So he became serious and he said the side of the secret about Mashiach was given to Lubavitch. His Chassidus Chabad, I guess that the Chutz, the Alter Rebbe took the Rabbeim took the tax of Chutz of the Baal Shem Tov. So the Indian of Mashiach, so if the Rabbeim of Chabad speaking about Mashiach, he could trust. She was very close to him. But the Shidduch was years later, and she waited for the Rebbe. When the Rebbe said it, okay, so that's in one letter that I know that the Rebbe pushed it, כאילו, בדרך הטבע even, made the Shidduch happen.
Right. So, what was it? What was the catch? I imagine you learned in the Lubavitcher Yeshivas in Eretz Yisrael. What was the kesher with the Rebbe while you were in Eretz Yisrael, and what brought you to come to the Rebbe? What was that whole thing?
So the embassies, since I came to the Rebbe Tovshim Beis, it was a different connection to the Rebbe. Bein Arichmo. Even though I was 10 years or close to 11 years old, my analysis is Yud Kislev. I was born Tafshin Lamed Aleph, which means Tafshin Beis. I was 10 years old, close to 11. But I told you before, was pushed whatever you see as a child is not incompatible. He pushed loved being by the Rebbe. We love the Rebbe and we love being by the Rebbe. Lemosha example. I remember when we missed a Poshte Minche as a child. I felt bad because I wanted to be Mincha by the Rebbe. I remember that my parents want to make a child entertainments to go to interesting attractions that you have in New York. It was fun. It was absolutely fun. But I remember that the being by the Rebbe was the most geschmack thing. First the Gashmis. We loved being by the Rebbe. So when I came back, it was Ukops. The Rebbe Farbrengen, big farbrengens, and was Ukops. So in the Ukops, I came to the Ukop by Yas at very early in the morning. The Rebbe Farbrengen in the 79:30, by Yas was 3:30, 4:30, depends on the time. Thank you. So it was a ganze, we came and we listened, and I started Nekudas to myself, more when I was, even especially after my bar mitzvah, that I understood even more. But I remember one of the Alter Bochim gave me interesting advice. He saw that I am listening and I down, try to understand. He says, Gishmak a practical thing to hear the Rebbe Farbrengen, and I tell the Bochim today, I'm in Toronto with Yeshiva in the Bochim, so I tell them the same idea. When you are Farbrengen of the Rebbe, especially of the later years, when the Rebbe goes into a topic, don't try to connect what is the connection before. Listen to the current moment and try to understand what the Rebbe says right now. Then later on, after the Sicha, try to connect the dots. It was a very good eitzah, because the Rebbe used to go into a lot of mamorim usgorim, interesting sightings, or the Rebbe used to go off, the nekude, but after the whole Sicha you got how things came in, so at least you didn't get lost. Last time, just to describe the nekude that we pushed, love to farbrengens of the Rebbe.
So by the time you came to 770 permanently, you already were used to the signin of the Rebbe and it's farbrengens.
For sure. Even Tisha by the Rebbe, I still remember it was a farbrengens of the Rebbe. Remember Tavshim Beis, Tisha they came. The Shturm was Aces b'Sefer Torah. So the Rebbe, I remember a Sicha, the Rebbe spoke so sharp and harsh. Why don't people do it? Gimel Tishrei, Tafshim Beis. So I remember that the Rebbe, the Koch, the Rebbe, he understood. I'm not going to tell you, I understood the Maimon. Kanesh Kine, the Rebbe said, Shabbos Azinu. The first time I from the Rebbe, now it's the Maimon. I don't remember that the Rebbe understood what the Rebbe said. But the Siches and the ideas, and weist doch the Rebbe's Koch, and the Rebbe Schreien, the Rebbe demanding from Chassidim, I understood what's happening. Kilo, the Nekuda what the Rebbe wanted to bring out. And I'll tell you the Siches after. Actually, my father was very excited about a satellite. They made satellite, then was a lot of money. So you figure out that it's going to be, it's a big expense. Today, internet, it's nothing to see something live when the Rebbe speaks, but then it was a lot of money for every minute. Even a phone call was a lot of money. For sure, a satellite to see the Rebbe live, when the Rebbe Farbrengen. But they did few farbrengens. All Yerushalayim was there, even no Shorim, even nothing big with Chabad. It was an interesting thing to see a live from a different country. Akopanim, so he figured out, he sponsored that they are going to send after the Farbrengen a recording of the video. The Chassidim going to come together, and he paid a lot of money to buy the machine. He did it together with Baranover's Alav Sholem, just passed away, his son. And Danny took care of the practical thing, and my father was sponsoring it. Which was the gap for him. As Chassidim sollen sehen dem Rebbe, and hören dem Rebbe, and see the Rebbe, and hear the Rebbe, and know what the Rebbe is into. So right after the Farbrengen, a few days after the Farbrengen, they ship over the recording and the video, wherever it was done, to see Farbrengen. And then Baruch Hashem, I came to the Rebbe every Tishrei. From my bar mitzvah.
From Membeis, every Tishrei you came?
No, not from Membeis. My bar mitzvah was Yud Kislev Tavshim Dalet.
Yeah.
And Ashgach Potts, I got a set of Rambam from my brother-in-law, future brother-in-law. You know, there's a mashpia, Rebbe Shalom Deitch, very famous mashpia, in Israel. He was from my Magichir in Aloche. And I was a bochur, I gave him a gishmak in Aloche. So he had a younger brother that he was my brother-in-law. I'm saying was because he passed away, unfortunately young. So he gave me a set of Rambam a few months before the Rebbe started Miftzah Rambam. So that was Yud Kislev Tavshim Dalet. And then after Pesach, the Rebbe started the Miftzah, I had a Rambam ready, start Shleisha Prokim. Weist doch right away. And Baruch Hashem, Rambam wasn't common. People had Chas, other Sfarim. Rambam wasn't a common sefer that everyone should have. I had already said, and Baruch Hashem, Mamish from day one. And then next Tishrei, Tavshim came to the Rebbe, the first Tishrei after my bar mitzvah, and since then Baruch Hashem, every Tishrei. עד היום הזה ממש. ברוך השם. ברוך השם עד היום הזה, משליך es doch, הקופונים dabei in Yeshiva. So Yeshiva is off. That's the time. So Baruch Hashem, every Simchas Torah, even when to Shlichus and Rosh Hashanah, but Simchas Torah, Baruch Hashem, I was always by the Rebbe. Every Tishrei, since my bar mitzvah. Be'ez Hashem.
Okay. So, what was the story of how you came to the Rebbe permanently? That was for Kvutza? What was that?
So, B'Emesid, I had a big rotzen to go to the Rebbe, Machulian, to learn by the Rebbe. From I was in Yeshiva Gdel already, I wanted to stay. But I got an answer of the Rebbe, going to learn in Montreal. So in Yechidus Ksoli, the Rebbe told me just to fragen by the Anole. Says, I learned in Sifte, Yechidus Ksoli. Yeah. So after by the end of Yechidus, I asked the Rebbe, should I go learn in Montreal? Says, I want to say, I learned in Sifte Iteresemes. It was a very, very good yeshiva. As Mamish HaGishmak, Reb Chaim Shlomo Cohen, from Montreal today is Chabad for Israel, is Mada, Merkaz Dovrei Ivrit. So he was then Menael of Mesivte, and had my weggestellt auf die Fies. He took care of me. As a bochur, even though he was Menayel, but he was Menayel, he was mashpia Menayel. Akopanim had my weggestellt auf die Fies. And Ruchnies. And then Tafshin, after by Shir Beis, end of Shir Beis, was the yeshiva didn't work out. Coming not good, didn't work out the yeshiva. So I wanted to go to different yeshiva. So it was a group of bochur went to Montreal, to learn in Montreal. And I asked, I knew the Rebbe is not going to let a bochur go to a different place without reshus of the current anole. Like a very, very strong, consistent sheet of the Rebbe, that if you want to know we're good to go next year, you have to have reshus of the anole, of the current anole. You have the Geskedish. So I wrote to the Rebbe that I have reshus from the anole to go to Montreal. And I asked the Rebbe, I ate the table if it's the proper, if it's the best thing for me. So the Rebbe didn't answer my zettel. So in Yechidus Kloli, after the Rebbe in Yechidus Kloli answered after the Sicha, the bochur, so the Rebbe gave everyone $1, the Rebbe accepted the pan, and the Rebbe gave $1. Pan zettel, and the Rebbe gave $1. So I asked the Rebbe, soll ich gehen in Montreal? In other words, the Rebbe already, I got reshus, but I want to know, he says, it's a table. The Rebbe said, sollst du fragen bei der Anole. In other words, I should take a table. Even I got reshus, but if you want to have advice, what's the best place for you? Not just the reshus, it's a table, sollst du fragen bei der Anole. So I asked the Anole of Teresemes, Yeshivtane Mesivte, Teresemes, and he told me that, they told me, if you understand, it doesn't work for you to stay in Teresemes for Shur Gimel, but now to go to Montreal, they gave me a different dates to go to Lud, Eretz Yisrael. So Kapanim, Tafshim Memvav, I learned in Lud. It was the 6th. After Tisha, I came back to Eretz Yisrael, I went to Lud, based on the Rebbe's instructions to ask the Anole, as I ate a table, the Anole told me to go to Lud, I went to Lud, and from there I went to Shvigdei, I went to Kiryat Gat. So officially Kiryat Gat goes 3 years, and then goes Kvutze. So I was supposed to be Kvutze of Shinun, but the patience was too much. I couldn't be in the soul, not go to the Rebbe. So I pushed it the pen I came half a year earlier. My Kvutze of Shinun, I came to the Rebbe before Yud Aleph Nissen. Tav Shemem Tes. Very Gishmak Emaise about it. It's time that was Tav Shinun, Tav Shemem I want to go to the Rebbe for Yud Aleph Nissen. Yud Aleph Nissen then was like the quiz of this year. Tav Shemem Pevov was Motzei Shabbos. And Yud Aleph Nissen was Motzei Shabbos, or Shabbos before Shabbos HaGodel. And Bekitzer, I want to go to the Rebbe, but there's many technical things that wasn't in place to make it done. And I see a Sicha of the Rebbe, Shabbos Gimel Nissen. The Shalom Ober was Shabbos Parashas Metzeiro, I think. The Rebbe said in the Sicha that now it's a new Tkufa of Nissim. It was half a year before Teishnas Nissim. The Rebbe said, the ganze Sicha, now it's a new Tkufa of Nissim, very Gishmak Sicha. The Rebbe said, even though usually you say Ein Semchim Ala Nes, so you don't rely on Nissim. But the Rebbe said, over here it's different, because by Ayid, regular Nissim is part of his Tema. It's not even a Nes. That's regular Tema. A Nes is, the Rebbe didn't refer it, but a Nes is Kilo Akir, Siyamsuf kind of Nes. So by Yas, regular Nissim, that's nicht of them on Chazal gesagt, Ein Semchim Ala Nes. That's not the Pshat Ein Semchim Ala Nes. Because that's part of our Tema. The Rebbe said, Ebazei, is Punkt verkehrt. Semchim Ala Nes. On regular Nissim, you should rely. And nicht nur Smicha, the Rebbe used the Lashon Smicha, it says in Chazal, that Smicha is Bekol Koichoi. That Pashut means that the animal will bring the Misamikdash, they make it to Smicha, leaning on it, so you lean on it Bekol Koichoi. So the Rebbe said, the Rebbe used the same expression, Gami Nissim. So then Smicha, same Chimal Anes, and Smicha Bekol Koichoi. I started the Sicha right after Shabbos. We got a Techen Kotzer then. I said, I'm going to be by the Rebbe next Shabbos. I didn't have a passport, because I lost my passport if you don't have a pass, you can't have a visa. The travel agent tells me everything is booked because the couples want to go to the parents, so the flights are full to go from Israel to US. There is no place in it. I said, all's good and fine. The Rebbe said, Smicha v'chol keichei. I'm going to be by the Rebbe Be'ez Hashem before Shabbos, Shabbos Agodl. And Baruch Hashem kacha v'nisim.
Namish.
But I came to the Rebbe Erev Shabbos, Test Nissen, Shabbos or Shabbos. I got Yud Nissen was a merdike Farbrengen. You could see it. And then Farbrengen, the Rebbe said, merdike ACS, but Yud Aleph Nissen. The Rebbe never spoke before such great ACS. After, the Rebbe used the same wording, the same biur, the same explanation, the same wording later on. But the ACS, the first time the Rebbe spoke, use such words of Yud Aleph Nissen was this Farbrengen. Rebbe said that Shabbos HaGodel is Yud. Yud is Teva. Yud is Seder Shtarshalus, is all Teva, the name of Teva. And Shabbos is also, Shabbos is higher than the world, but Shabbos is part of Teva. Because Shabbos, Chazal say, Bo Shabbos, Bo Menucha, which means that the Eibusha created 7 days, and part of the union of creating, part of the 7 days is Shabbos. So Shabbos HaGodel, original Shabbos HaGodel in Mitzrayim was also Yud Nissen. Was a shlemus of Teva. The Makim Mitzrayim Mifchareim, the Welt himself agrees to Elokus. But it's part of Teva. Mashein Ken Yud Aleph Nissen. Yud Aleph Nissen is Achadosu. Is 11. 11 represent anything higher. And Rebbe said, when you want to speak about the Eibishter himself, any expression you say about the Eibishter himself is limited. Why? Because you're describing it. So there's no way to describe the Eibishter himself. The only expression you could say is 11. Achadosu. Because Achadosu, you don't say what it is. You say what it's not. You say it's higher than 10, higher than anything. Rebbe says even Atzmus is an expression. Me'us is an expression. The only way to express it is with the idea of 11. Achadosu. In other words, in Kudav Yud Aleph Nissen is, the Rebbe said, Echa von alle Echachkeiten. It's the highest of all the highest thing possible.
Doubtless.
And this is the Farbrengen. Yud Aleph Nissen. In Moshe Shabbos, Yud Aleph Nissen, Farbrengen, sincerity. You can't even measure after such a Farbrengen. The Rebbe discovered to ask what does it mean Yud Aleph Nissen. And then the Rebbe used the same expression. Tov Shinun, the Rebbe continued, Yud Shvat. Shvat is the 11th month. And Beprotis Yesar, the Emes Seder Shvi started. Yud Aleph Shvat. Tov Shi Yud Aleph. Again, the Nikud of Achadosa, but the base for everything was this Shabbos HaGodel Tovshin Memtes. That was the Yesed.
There's a whole thing with Shemizmer, right? That Shabbos.
Right. There was a Vad, and they made a different thing. They picked a different thing from many Nigunim, but the Peil Mamesh, the Rebbe spoke, Shalom Broch that she made a nigun, and he was Zolman and included the good that the Rebbe spoke in the Sicha, Shimon Livnei Keira. And when the Rebbe spoke in the Sicha the Rebbe spoke about the woods that only had Shimon Livnei Keira. So Kitzer was singing the nigun in the middle of Farbrengen, and it was a merdik. Something interesting in the Kude. Motzei Shabbos, Zalman Gorai went up to give the Rebbe a broche. The Rebbe davened Ma'ariv and the Bime. He made a Bime, and the Rebbe davened Ma'ariv. And after Ma'ariv, he went up to the steps to give the Rebbe a broche for Yud Aleph Nissen, B'Shem Chassidim. So the Rebbe showed them to go down. In other words, the Rebbe is going to go down, and he's going to go down, and he's going to give a broche down. So it was interesting, two explanations of Chassidim. I'm saying you could call it akachaynik. Things that's not mefurish in Divrei Rabbeinu Seinu or in Shulchan Aruch, you call it akachaynik, but it's ergesh of Chassidim. It's gishmak. One Bacha says that Zalman Gorai is a shlich tzibur. He's not saying his own broche. He's a shlich tzibur. He's benching the Rebbe in name of Chassidim, in the name of Yidden. And the halacha in Shulchan Aruch is that a shlich tzibur has to be mimamakim t'asicha Hashem. Let me show them what are you coming up and saying over here. Let's go to the Shlich Tzibur. That's was one Ergish. The second
One
Ergish, the
Ergish,
Rebbe
right.
said, yeah, one Ergish. Another Ergish was Chassidim Farbrengen. The Rebbe said, what do you think? Yudal Fnis is not that I'm on the stage and you come and giving me a bochur. Yudal Chassidim, I want to be together with Chassidim. Going down from the stage. I'm in the same level, the same place where Chassidim are. You know, mishach rein with Chassidim. Mixing it with Chassidim. Then give me a bochur. And then, that's a second Ergish of Chassidim. Both Ergish of Ergish Mark. I'm saying the same Chassidim should know tell him that we Farbrengen the night after.
You see, talking the video of it, it's a very interesting scene.
That's exactly what I want to tell you. Very medic and Nekuda. After the bochur, the Rebbe answered back with a Sicha. And then Chassidim was singing Shir Mizmor. And the Rebbe was holding down the farbrengens. Every time the Rebbe went in or went out, holding down the farbrengens. And the Rebbe was looking at Chassidim for a short moment. But you saw Pashat the love of the Rebbe to Chassidim and Chassidim to the Rebbe. It was a short moment. The Rebbe had geguckt was da. Horaos, it was a simcha. You Pashat can't describe it. At Khan is, so I thought, I'm telling you, I remember this vision, the Rebbe standing like this. And like a shtickle smile, but bigger, not a smile, but a horaos, like a happy face, like a face. And Chassidim are singing, the Rebbe is looking at Chassidim. And Chassidim are singing. So in my hope, like you see, you saw the Rebbe's love to Chassidim to the Rebbe. And then, my brother-in-law is Rabbi Avrohom. He's in Brazil, Yeshiva in Brazil. So years later, he was my chavrus, and then we got married. My sister got married to his sister. So years later, he tells me, Mesiach Lefitume, that he was a shliach in California then. So he brought up a group of balabatim to go to the Rebbe. So he said, one of the balabatim, Mekuravim, they said that they saw this moment, Motzei Shabbos, when the Rebbe coming out, he singing Shir Mizmor, he saw the love between Rebbe and Chassidim and the Rebbe. So he said, Tzadus, I just came to the Rebbe to be by the Rebbe permanently. So I had a Ergish. It's objectively, this was to capture the moment.
Right.
To see this Ergish.
And I was saying that you can see something special in that video. The whole thing, first of all, the Rebbe is down with the Elam like you're describing, and then I think the Rebbe says "Afreilach Avach," right? The Rebbe says it's like a whole expression over there, and then Hashem Mizmer. It's a very special scene, and it's on video also.
Yeah.
Okay, so you came to the Rebbe Tashlan test permanently and with the Shturim with a bang. So I imagine that it was a total different experience once you were there permanently than it was in Eretz Yisrael.
Absolutely. This emotion, Shabbos Farbrengen. Then it was Sicha during the week and Shabbos Farbrengen. You stand in front of the Rebbe, a Farbrengen Shabbos, or a Sicha during the week. The Rebbe aped the roof. The Rebbe Pushet picks you up to different heights. Kipshut mamish. Give you an interesting experiment. Pushet a little bit to describe it. We are Farbrengen with Farbrengen, right? So you could say a little bit in Yanim, you could call it Argeshim. It's in other words, the Sichas everyone could see. I want a little bit share my personal experience. It was and that's also a teichen that you could learn even Tafshin Pei Vav. Like I'm going to say soon. But then I could learn most. Dugme. Farbrengen was Tafshin Nun Aleph. Elu Tafshin Nun Aleph. Shabbos Sheftim Tafshin Nun Aleph. The Rebbe spoke a merdike Sicha. The Rebbe spoke about the Sicha that Siderenu is a Novi, and he says La'alta Legeule, Mashiach, Otot Kumt Mashiach, and it wasn't just one line. It was a whole Farbrengen build up. I remember that Poshet, after the Farbrengen, we used to make Chazore, right? After the Farbrengen of the Rebbe, was Mishtat in the Chazore also.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that more beprati, so whatever, yeah. We'll get back to it.
Let's get that later. We Poshet do this Chazore. So Poshet, you pinch, sometimes here on Farbrengen, you want to pinch yourself. Is it true with the Rebbe's? Is it correct what I'm hearing? The Rebbe said that the Eibishter was Becher in a Yid, Vesarot Pchir Chavshis. In other words, a human being like us, Nachher became, er ist Priochowschis, der human being, der Rebbe der gewinnt zu sein, der Novi von der Dor, der Schäfer von der Der. Der Rebbe wenn an, Bio, that Poshet Kipshuta, the Rebbe said, Nesidareinu is a Novi, and he's someone between us, Besher is a Novi, and even few nekudas the Rebbe was maramez on himself, not just about the Fidik Rebbe. The Rebbe said, two nekudas the Rebbe said, Talmidim, the Talmidim from the Rebbe, the Shver Yevet and the Mugadik Sicha. And the second nekuda the Rebbe said, the ganze Bio, the vote, the time in Alter Rebbe's Maimer, and the Rebbe brings it in the Sicha. The Rebbe says you have tzaddikim and said kitzim, but it didn't come true. In Metzias, they said that. The Rebbe said, the Rebbe himself said, Tofrish, yes, and it didn't come true, bochur, and the kids. And I'll come, Mashenke, when a Novi says Mashiach would come, it's going to happen. For us, the Rebbe says, because a Novi means that it brings it out, the dibu. So already brings it out in Elamaz HaGashmi, so the person already starting. Kitzim means you see it in Ruchnias. You see that this particular year is a year of energy, extra energy. So this energy, I'm saying my own language. If it's going to come down here, it's going to be a year, an energy of Mashiach. But if lo yizochu, so it doesn't come out the way it is. Sometimes extra negative things happen because extra energy being used not in a proper way. It could be negative, and some extra good things. The Rebbe was megal, and the 4 cases of wine in Mashiach Suda, because it was a year of a case. The Rebbe said that if it's going to be a nevuah, the Novi is not just sings it in Ruchnis, it brings it, the Novi is notion niv sasai, warbling something with your lips. The Rebbe, when a Novi, the Rebbe gives them koyach a nevuah, the actual thing that he says it, he brings it down the matter. And then the Rebbe says the expression, I'm telling you, I just couldn't believe my ears. The Rebbe says, the far, retmen leg Moshiach lacheno bedibo davke. That's why Meret, who is Red? The Rebbe. The far Retman, when Moshiach, that the Nekuda of Moshiach to bring out Bedibu after the Farbrengen. Ever have there's still interesting post. I'm not going to mention names. But it was, they call it a Spitz Chabad, like a Spitz. When you hear a little bit a joke, illustration of sometimes a Spitz not in a proper way.
Usually when the Rebbe speaks about Spitz Chabad, it's not positive, yeah?
Right, but one time he's positive. You're going to see Cholamet Sukkot Tov Shemimei was a positive, interesting positive nekude. I was there also. From a mitzvah. I'm not going to go into all ariches. It was very Sicha. I'm going in from off topics. The Rebbe said the Spitz Chabad they don't like that the learning Nigla on Shabbos. And the Rebbe was saying, I understand that. Then, before the Rebbe stood on the side of the stand, which means, after the Rebbe was not held to be with the foot, they made a different stand for Farbrengen, for Sichas. But then, the Rebbe stood on the same stand of Rabbi on the side. And the Rebbe said, was Leil Shabbos Chol HaMoed Sukkos. The Rebbe says, Faran, die Spitz Chabad, was Teinen, Ayitoch HaMelon Nigle Shabbos, you're not allowed to learn Nigle. And they said, was that Shabbos, you don't know Nigle. Even though the Rebbe in the Sicha says that the Rebbe personally learn two toots.
In the Chaps, there's a whole back and forth about it.
So the Rebbe said, but the Rebbe still said Nigle. The Rebbe said the Machlekes Rambam and Rebbe was the Rambam Miami, Kochim Shenisarbo Bekochi. I'm not going to go into it. And the Rebbe said that people Machlekes Rambam and Rebbe. And the Rebbe asked the questions so much that the Rebbe said like asleep like this. From question answer, standing on the side. And the sleep went from here up to almost to the elbow. From nicht learning Nigle of Shabbos. From the not learning Nigle of Shabbos.
Yeah.
But on the same tkufe, the Rebbe gave a positive statement about Spitz Chabad. Very interesting thing. The Rebbe said that the Spitz Chabad, the Nekude, I'm not saying the whole background, it's going to be too long, but the Nekude Sadova was that this Spitz Chabad have a Koch in Moshiach, and the fact that L'alta Legeule means Kipshutei, the Rebbe gave it a positive
I think I saw a
Knaufen.
kuntres. Someone made a kuntres of all the references that the Rebbe did the Spitz Chabad. I think I saw it around. Okay.
Interesting. So then, if you check the kuntres, you see that the Rebbe spoke about someone that doesn't accept Mashiach coming soon, that is not like the Spitz Chabad. In other words, from the Teichen was, the Spitz Chabad is a good thing if you use it properly. Back to the Nekuda.
So back to Sheftim Nun Aleph with your friend who's Spitz Chabad.
So the Rebbe, so my Chava, which is a Spitz Chabad, he went around and he asked, all the Zikne Chassidim, Zikne Choizrim, and people that know the Rebbe Sichas, did you ever use such a Sich of the Rebbe? I want to admit, there was like a unique Sich. Mitamol, right after this Meirike Sicha, after this Sicha, the Rebbe says, the Rebbe goes to the oil, and everyone knows the story, wherever that, and it was a car accident, and a schwarze child, Nebuch, Hakeneb was an innocent child, schwarze child, got killed, and started a whole pogrom. Mamish kipshut a pogrom. Stones were flying. Riots, the riots was crazy.
I want to mention something that's a big part of writing a pan to the Rebbe, but that sometimes is forgotten, and that is the demei pan, the money that we give with the pan. If you're wondering why we give money with a pan, we can actually find the explanation in Tanya Nigaris HaKedesh. The Alter Rebbe explains that our livelihood, our parnasa, is where our energy is invested. The chaye nafshe, as he refers to it. When we give demei pan, we're giving a piece of our physical essence. That's what creates the vessel and the keli to receive the brachas and this connection and hiskashos we're asking for in our pan. It's a long-standing tradition from the times of the Chassidim of the Alter Rebbe. By giving this tzedakah together with our pan, we're making the request real in the physical world. So when you send your pan this year, make sure to include demei pan. You can do this through magbis.org and through clicking on the tab for demei pan, which ensures that these funds will go to the same place that the Rebbe will deposit the money that he received in the panim, which is the Rebbe's institutions. It's a small step that makes a huge difference.
So the Nekuda is, Mitamol, we felt very, very down. As was the riot, was pushed the danger to go on the street. But besides this, Bemes, as a bochur, wasn't the physical danger. We pushed felt down. How could it be such a thing in the Rebbe's shchune that a Yid cannot go in the street proudly, has to be afraid? How does it make sense? How does it make sense that it was hard for us to accept such an akude, such a elevator of Golus, such a Golus-like situation, and that in the Rebbe's shchune you have to be afraid to go? It didn't resonate with our mind, and especially the Rebbe just said such amazing werten. Mashiach is coming, and the world is ready, and everything, and mitamo such a patch, a slap in your face. Kitzo, the Sicha of Yudalef Elul, Rebbe came back from Doria. After, it was 2 days after.
This is like the middle of whatever, towards the end of the riots, but yeah.
No.
It's after the riots is finished.
No, it just started. It just started. It was in the middle. For sure in the middle. Unfortunately. It was in the middle.
I think it started Chetz or something. Okay, whatever. Not sure. Yeah.
I thought it started. You can check the Eastern.
Okay. Yeah.
It started? Well, Yud Aleph Elul. The Rebbe came back from the Rebbe said a Sicha. It was Pasha states. The Rebbe said, that a Yid, why does it say Alei Vecha? It should say Imei Vecha. You have a fight with your enemies, not on your enemies. The Rebbe said, a Yid is higher than this. That was the Teichen. A Yid has nothing to do with the Melchame. War. You have to go to the Tachtanim, you have to go to the world. So you're going down. But it's not a fight with you. You are higher. A Yid is higher from them. That was the Sicha. And one of the things the Rebbe said, in Sidereinu is given Mashiach Shebedereinu, und is gali geworden mit the ganze Tekev. That in Sidereinu was Mashiach in our generation, and it was Nitzgala, it was already revealed when the ganze Tekef. And it wasn't just a word. The Rebbe said that's why it could be with Simcha. Even though the Pasuk says, Oz Gimel Eschek Pinu, only then after Mashiach. But it could have now also Simcha. And interesting is, the Rebbe, I'm telling you some, unofficially, amongst ourselves, it could be a little bit open. The Rebbe was very, very careful, things that was the Rebbe said in a Farbrengen, or things that the Rebbe was magia and went to the newspapers, and things that the Rebbe said during the week. But the Rebbe, every Nekuda was very, very careful. Certain things the Rebbe said, Dafka on Shabbos, or Yom Tev, and even in Yom Tev, the Rebbe was makpi to say it in a time that there's no other people. Tavshilamed Bey is the famous Sicha, the Rebbe stopped Magia Lokut Sichas. And the Rebbe gave a whole Mishaberach kind of Tuchsidim. The Rebbe said he's using our opportunity in the beginning, close to the beginning of Farbrengen, before other people come to the Farbrengen. And al der say, that's not the only thing.
Lech Lecha has a bunch of Sharif Sichas.
Yeah.
I'm going to explain to you because it's after Tisha and a lot of people left.
Yeah. And this, the Rebbe said in a Farbrengen, in a Sicha during the week, that you have a video recorded, you have a voice, you recording a video and all. The Rebbe wanted to leave a statement. I compare that's a Maimar Muslim.
So what are you trying to say?
I want to bring out to say, we felt before the Sicha, I personally, my Chaverin, felt so down. After the Rebbe finished the Sicha, we felt there's no riots, there's no Ilamaze, who cares? We just felt in, like you say, in Rakia Shmi, in the seventh heaven. The stars were still flying. It was still dangerous to go in the street. But Legabi asked, it was not Tfisas Makim. We were pushing, the Rebbe picked us up, Uvgeben. Kipshuti, I felt, that's one of the many experiences. When you hear a Farbrengen of the Rebbe, when you walked out of Farbrengen, I'm telling you, everyone is a Yitzer Tev, Yitzer Ore, Nefesh Lekis, Nefesh Abamis, right? But when you walked out of Farbrengen of the Rebbe, you felt Nishtok im Welt. You're not going to mess yourself up in Shtusim, in Taivas, in Shtusim. You just experience Elokus B'Pshitas. You just experience real Elokus. And the MSCs, the Fiana is Daiti, I tell it bochur, I'll deal with bochur. If a bochur is going to listen to a Farbrengen of the Rebbe, watch a Farbrengen of the Rebbe, that is a proper achone. When I mean achone, watch with the proper achone means that he's going to put himself in a mode that right now is Farbrengen with the Rebbe. And he's going to hear it with a pnimius. He's going to listen to the Farbrengen with a pnimius. He could have the similar ergish. But the same thing as Sicha. You listen to a Sicha. By MSCs, Lefian is that there's Sichas, you could see Sichas and Mamorim, and Mugadik and Mamorim. It shows out on the Oimek of the Rebbe. Maybe it's out of the discussion now. I could show you also from my experience one word of the Rebbe. The Rebbe pushed in one, keep in one little word, you can make a whole mimer of one word of the Rebbe. I could, my own experience, I could share to you. It's not for now, for this moment. But that's in Seichel. In Seichel, and in Oimek HaSeichel, which is very important. But there's a certain nekude of Oil V'chayes Nasheinu Nitan Lanu. Like it says about Yitzchak Kislev. That Chassidus is Oil V'chayes, light and energy. If you want to have light and energy, you have to watch a Sicha of the Rebbe, a Farbrengen. But you have to a little bit prepare yourself to be in the mode, to be in the matzev. When you put yourself in this matzev, even Tov Shim Pei Vav, Kipshute, and Achosed, unfortunately never zoiche to see the Rebbe in a Gashmizdike way, but if he puts himself in the mode, he's going to push it Farbrengen with the Rebbe. He's going to work out a different person. But the Rebbe tells him it's going to upleg by him. It's going to settle in his mind. It's going to make a certain hakika, a certain engravement, a vote of the Rebbe. And it's going to work out differently. That's just a little bit experience. Another nekuda, the same nekuda, another Indian that I see, I'm to this. Another from the same experience, the same vote. It was Shabbos Titzavim, Tavshinun Aleph. I stick it like dummy before. When the Rebbe came back from the oil, riots were going on. So they had to make police and horses watching the whole pathway when the Rebbe cars come back. Police and the Schwarze should not, Rahman San, whatever. I don't mean to say Schwarze, in this world you have to be careful with racism. We're not again, that's not the point. Yeah. It's not the point. It's people that were brainwashed with anti-Semites people. So anyway, so the Rebbe was standing, and the Rebbe's car came. It was horses watching the whole pathway, policemen and horses. So then it came out Beis Chayenu. Beis Chayenu was recording the Rebbe's, what the Rebbe did, farbrengens, bochur. I'm not going to go into it. The Rebbe encouraged it very, very strong with a big chidush. In those years, the Rebbe encouraged it. My friend, Rabbi Kana, he was one of the people that worked on it. The Rebbe encouraged Meredith. I'm not going to go into it now.
You got an answer from the Rebbe, call him a father, Tadeze Meshubach.
Tadeze Meshubach. Smam is crazy.
I think the Rebbe had it in the Siddur, I think, once or twice.
Oh, exactly. So, in Beis Chayenu, that relates to my story.
Okay.
So, the Rebbe, he wrote in Beis Chayenu that the Rebbe came back from the oil and we saw 50 ish ratzim lefanov. It's a story in Tanakh. That to show respect, you have 50 ish ratzim lefanov. Fine. Came the Farbrengen after. We knew the Rebbe took the Beis Chayenu, the Rebbe had it in the Siddur, the Rebbe used to go to the oil with the Fidik Rebbe, with the Beis Chayenu. The Rebbe read it, v'chulu. It was possible, you saw it in the Rebbe's back of the Siddur. So for sure the Rebbe saw it. It wasn't just part of the article. It was like, sometimes you have one of the paragraphs you blow up and people see it. So it was 50 ish ratzim lefanov. The Rebbe in the Farbrengen said like this. You can check it out in the Bilte Muge, for sure. The Rebbe said, a Yid could afford 50 ish ratzim lefanov. The Rebbe said, the Yitzhak comes over to person and he tries to make him crazy. So the Rebbe said, the story with the Rebbe's chassid. The chassid of the Rebbe, that he was a rich person, he lived in Peterburg, and he was when the Yitzhak came to make him crazy, he used to say, you're starting with me? You know him? I am a chassid of the Alter Rebbe. I have connections with the government, because in Peterburg, he's the chassid that the Alter Rebbe went out of jail, supposed to go to his house, and by mistake, the Alter Rebbe went to the Misnagit's house. I compared him that the Rebbe didn't say it in the Farbrengen, but then it was a rich man. So the Rebbe said, if you're healthy, if you're a normal person, if you're healthy, you don't put your head in shtusim. Because a Yid could afford 50 ish ratzim lefanov. You all smiled, you understood. But the Rebbe said, in the Beis Chayenu, they wrote it about the Rebbe. But the Rebbe took this opportunity and ufgame a chassid, ufgame a Yid, that every Yid, the Rebbe said, even the President of the United States, if he's going to take a person that for honor, he's going to run in front of him. He's going to rotz lefanov, he's going to run in front of him. You're going to say, what do you mean you take taxes, people's taxes, and you spend on such a thing? They're the President of the United States. But a Yid could have 50 people running in front of him for honoring. 50 ish ratzim lefanov. You walk out of this Farbrengen. Yeah? You're the Farbrengen. Then all the thought of the Rebbe of Tshuva, Shabbos Etzavim, before the Tshuva is a completely different perspective. The expectations from yourself is a different expectation. When you're going to make a little achlote, you're going to do this, you think about yourself. Mr. Ingansen, I want to say that the experience of being by the Rebbe or listening for bringing to the Rebbe and hearing to the Pnimius with a little bit, take it a little bit more serious. It picks you up. Say, Abe the move. That's
as you see, Tak, you mentioned before Yidalef Elul that whole the Sicha during the riots. So if you watch the video, you see, the way it worked those years is that if there was a student in the Sicha, then there was dancing. A regular day not. Something that Rebbe said there was dancing. I mean, this can happen every other day, but whatever. But you see, it doesn't make sense. Outside there's the riots, and in 770 the ala tanzen. So you're saying that this is what the Rebbe was doing with the Elam, and this is what the Rebbe is doing now also.
Exactly.
You just have to access it.
Exactly.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you, I'm sure you have many more dugmais and more of this. So from what I know and from what I hear so far, is that the sichas that you were there, you weren't just there. You heard everything that the Rebbe said. So I spoke to a Yid today, and I told him that I am going to have a conversation, and if I bring him with you, he says, "Oh, I remember him from Chazar. Someone around your age. I don't know if Mamish, but I remember him from Chazar. So, what is that all about? You're part of Chazar. Like, what was that?
So I tell you the way it worked. After the Rebbe Farbrengen, Shabbos, most Farbrengen was Shabbos, so Rebbe all time, sein gesunder stark, he made Chazor. He made Chazor in English, but that was honest the best Chazor. Because erstens, is a little dickie, when I was in Chishit. So if someone had certain nekudas to add, he always welcome anyone. And so in the Chazor of Rebbe, I used to moisif nekudas. And after the Farbrengen, so it was Motzi Shabbos, I'm going to say that there was a 3 publication coming out from the Rebbe Farbrengen. Mechlolus. 3, 4 בעצם. Was Motzi Shabbos, it was the, especially later, developed later, Tafshinun Aleph, that Chassidim want to hear Motzi Shabbos right away, as soon as possible, what was the Rebbe Farbrengen. So it was a new institution, it's called the Sicha. And Sicha was a few bochur my age, more or less. Moshe Melamed was in his basement actually. And Motel Telsner, he was in charge of the logistics, the fax it. Then was a fax, was a ganze Bezieh to the machine of fax, was before internet. And then I came in a little bit later, but I did it together with Ephraim Shmuel Mintz, the head of JLI. So the way it worked, that I wrote one part of the Farbrengen, like nekudas of the Farbrengen, like few nekudas of the Farbrengen, he wrote the other parts, the other nekudas of the Farbrengen. I checked out his, and he checked out mine, just to make sure that fair makes sense. And we wrote, by the Masken, we wrote how many Sichas was, the Farbrengen, and the horaos lepeil. Besides the few paragraphs of the Teichen of the Sicha, was horaos lepeil, and what time the Farbrengen ended.
So you did this after Chazara?
Yeah, Chazor was afternoon. Chazor, after the Rebbe Farbrengen, Rebbe Bolton used to stand in some 70 and pray Chazor.
Because the Farbrengens those years were shorter.
Yeah. And then Sunday came out a longer version of the Bilti Muge. Was daar nog eens mee tegen Kotzer. En nog eens belangrijk, not nog eens belangrijk. Later on was also Faxa Sicha. Roshei Dvorim. Roshei Dvorim, Rode Sicha more Bariches.
By the time now the base came out, the Roshei Dvorim is basically a Hanocha.
That's right, that's right. The Sichas Kedesh that came out, 2 blue, and still existing, 2 blue sets. A set of 2 story blues. That's built in Muge of Roshei Dvorim. So what I did for myself, after Sunday, when it came out the Techn Kotzer or the Roshei Dvorim, I used to write to myself any pieces that I think they missed. Or even the Seder of the Dvorim, sometimes they put it together, it should be more clear, but I wanted to have the original, the way the Rebbe said it. And they get a lot of resurface. I have a lot of anoches from Tofshin Memtes Nun, Miket of Memtes Nun, that I wrote against the Mujs, full of goes, or surface, that what they didn't write. And changes from things that they wrote, the film is that in that way the Rebbe said it, like Tikkunim, well. And then, Yom Shlishi, they used to give the Rebbe the long Sicha to Muge, and the Rebbe was Magiat. And then Tofshin, the Bedechal was the Taktsir, the short version, we wrote right after Motzi Shabbos. So the Rebbe encouraged it very much, very interesting. 2 things. First of all, I remember when it started, Tofshin Aleph, I wasn't there involved yet. The Rebbe was Magiat the first time, And Chassidim said, even though it's not muge, the Rebbe wouldn't encourage Netzem Nekude. And someone came to the Rebbe by Dallas. These are recorded video. He said that the Rebbe gave out dollars for Tzedakah Sunday, that he gave a donation, gave a machine to make it quicker. The Rebbe added something interesting. The Rebbe said to make sure that, I don't remember the law, but the Teichem was to make sure Ahidum shouldn't be a Chilul Shabbos, shouldn't be any, the kids have to be Mehadar in the Nekuda of Shabbos. So we thought to myself, like, what is the Rebbe, what's, obviously we made it after the Zman, we said bochur Avdil. So since then, we made Avdol first. Because there's a certain Nekuda not to do Melochet Kvua, the Rebbe Dawi himself, not to do a Melochet Berabim before Avdol. So one of us made Avdol, and then we wrote right away the Tektzin. Akopanim, that was one time. The second time the Rebbe was Magia, but it wasn't on the palm, wasn't on our paper. Shabbos Vayeshev Tovshin and Beis. But we didn't get it because it wasn't on the actual on our paper. It was a general thing for the Manichim message by the Sicha. And then the last farbrengens so far, Vayakel Leisato, Vayakel Tovshin and Beis. It's time interesting. I was the only one to write a Sicha because my Chaver, Ephraim Shmuel means walk his foot. Stam technically, so he couldn't be close in a farbrengen enough to write Anoche.
So you wrote that
the old Tektzir. We put it into the Rebbe like every Motzi Shabbos, and then mitamol, the Rebbe was Magiet, the Rebbe sent it back.
On Sunday?
And, no, Motzi Shabbos. Motzi Shabbos. We used to give it to the Rebbe right away. Right away when we had it ready, we gave it to the Rebbe and we sent it to all Shluchim, Chassidim, whoever was at a fax to accept it. We gave it to the Rebbe. So usually there was no response. But then this Motzi Shabbos, the Rebbe was Magiet, the Rebbe sent it right away out, and they reprinted with a new version, and unfortunately, because I know that happened on Monday after. So Chassidim said that the Rebbe knew that it's not going to be the long Mugadik Sicha. The Rebbe wanted to have opportunity to be Magia the Sicha at least in the general version. That was the Sicha.
And that's the last thing that the Rebbe was Magia this after. And also that the whole Vayakel Farbrengen and Beis is not Nishtama Farbrengen.
Merdik. I remember Benjamin Klein, he was a big talker. Kedua, he wasn't Beteva, he kept secrets. So I remember after Zayin he Farbrengen. Like an exceptional thing. And he said, everyone knows I'm not a big speaker. But I could tell you one thing. Yeah, incident yet with the Rebbe. Shliach wrote to the Rebbe a question. The Rebbe gave an answer. And then the situation came up again, but a little bit different. So he asked the Rebbe, because the situation is different, what should he do? Like what the Rebbe said before, or different? The Rebbe didn't answer. So he figured out, because the situation changed, so he did not what the Rebbe answered the first time, something else. Fine. A while after, the Rebbe asked him, what's happening with this? This is the Shliach, he had a question, Shliach Hayid. Chassid, he asked, had gefragt, what happened in Peil Mamesh? So he told the Rebbe, what he knew from the Chassid, that since the Rebbe didn't answer, and the situation changed, so he did differently. The Rebbe became serious, and the Rebbe said, with a wissen, you have to know that when I give something, a message, that's the message. You should always go along with it. Even if you think the situation changed. That was the Teichem. I'm not medayik because years ago, but I'm saying that's the Teichem. So Benjamin Klein spoke from that result. And he's like, come on. I remember this Farbrengen, he said, Shabbos Vayakel Tovshin and Beis. That's the last message of the Rebbe. And if you look at the Farbrengen, the Rebbe spoke 2 points. One point is about Mashiach. That Kibbutz Goliath, Baruch is already started, Me'ein of it. And that's very, very strong cases. And the second Nekuda is Avos Yisrael. Merdike Vert Rabbat Avos Yisrael. The Rebbe said that even someone that has to be strong, like a father, that he has to have some Nekuda of toughness. But Be'etzem you have to go more on the Nekuda of positive. And to have Avos Yisrael. And the Rebbe even covered certain areas. If you look in the Rebbe's Farbrengen, the Rebbe Beferish spoke about Ki'ilu Machlekes Hashem Shamayim, kind of. That the reason why you do it is for right reason. But the Rebbe said, over here, even on Pitera, you have to show that you pretend, you have to make a mechoen, you have to. The Rebbe didn't use the says, but the Rebbe, the Teichen was that even if you think that you have to be magna, the tzad ha'av and tzad ha'chesed. If you look in the Sicha, so he said, the Rebbe said the Farbrengen berabim, and that's the two nekudas that we have to stick up to it completely. Anyway, that's I was able to be magia that to write the Sicha that the Rebbe was magia for this Farbrengen.
Right, and also the whole style of the Farbrengen was very different than typical for that kofer, right?
Yeah, that's right. You have to alt cop. In other words, the Rebbe spoke one nekuda. Usually, yeah, it was the word Farbrengen was easier to follow, or something was much harder to follow. Depends, sometimes we had a schus and we understood it better. Sometimes it was much harder to understand. But Akopanim, there's interesting nekuda. I think it applies after Gimel Tammuz also. Speak about the Farbrengens. In a certain sense, it was more kiruv alavavis golidik kiruv by the Rebbe before, and even especially I'm saying the emphasis this time started between the Chaver of the Yuds, of the Rebbe in the Tavshin Yuds, Chaver of Tavshin Chav, Chaver of Tavshin Lamed, Tavshin Mem, Tavshin Nun. And then the Kudas Adavari is that you felt the earlier is you felt more kiruv alavavis that the Rebbe shows you. He knows you, shows you, he gives you attention, he gives you his time, gives you eitzes, v'chulu. And then the time passed, Kivyokon you thought that the Rebbe gets echer, also technically the Rebbe got busy, more chassidim, more institutions, more mazdes. The Rebbe, so Kili didn't have time. I want to tell you something interesting, that I saw it then, and I was thinking about it then, and I see it even B'Yasa says after Gimel Tammuz. That the Nekuda is this, that even though Mitzadach the Rebbe got echer and more detached, Kivyokon, but the Rebbe has a stronger hashpah and chassidim in an individual life knows. I have few interesting dogmas that Lemashal, by Dallas. So it was a split moment, but the look of the Rebbe, a cook, but one cook of the Rebbe could change a bochur completely. Especially if the bochur made a shikul achone, and he went for $5, and he made a little bit achone before he went, the bochur could able to change his life. In Meiser Pele, Limonatei, and I think the same thing, a bochur goes to the Oyen. He goes after achone, and he realized that he's now by the Rebbe, like the Rebbe says, Oyen is a yechidus, and in this moment, he connects to the Rebbe. He could walk out of the ale with the same ergesh and the same change in his life, like a bochur by Dallas, Sonny Dallas. And even in Sichas, the Rebbe spoke berabim. Interesting experience. I'm not going to say names because maybe it's not nice, but the Teichen Adover is very interesting. I was by the Rebbe. The Rebbe said one sentence in a Sicha about going a beard. And I know three chassidim close to the Rebbe, whatever you're going to call them, Mekuravim, that for some reason they didn't have a beard, and they were close to the Rebbe, and they had yechidus with the Rebbe, v'chulu, in the early years. And didn't change it to have a beard. When the Rebbe said this statement in one Farbrengen, in the middle of a Farbrengen, you can check it out, Tavshin Tes. I know three of this style of Eden started to grow a beard. The Rebbe said in a Farbrengen, I remember this today, the Rebbe said in a Farbrengen that he thinks that he's going to go to business without a beard, he's going to get, it looks, I'm not saying the loss, but the technology, it looks normal, and people are going to give him business, going to let them out money. The Rebbe says, but he realized a beard is it gimel sarachamim. He gimel to kine digne is it 13 midas of rachman. So verkehrt, you're going to have tzlach even in business. That's all the Rebbe said in the Farbrengen. And after the Farbrengen, it was three of that started to grow a beard, and the Rebbe gave him a lot of attention by dollars. So the Rebbe gave $13, as a encouragement for this. So you see that mitzad echad, the Rebbe gvor necha, the Rebbe gvor necha, nicht gescheit. But at the same time, the Rebbe tut gegen Chassidim echet. But it's totally in us. It's a lot of totally in us that we have to just tune in to the Rebbe's wave, kind of. If we tune into the Rebbe's wave, so we're gonna get who the Rebbe is. What the Rebbe, at least what the Rebbe is, legabi us. You could live on the same page, kind of. That's just one interesting incident.
There's something there. I remember once hearing from you a mice with a fly.
Oh wow! Scare. Thank you for reminding.
I don't know if this has to do with anything that you're saying now, but it's something that you.
It's like a geschmack thing in the sun. I want to say a stickly agdame for this story. And that also, I thought like we farbrengen zwischen Chassidim, right? It's a farbrengen. We farbrengen zwischen Chassidim, we schmoozing.
100%.
Like I call it with bochur. We schmoozing. So, and I thought nekude, a lot of times, I feel that, could we speak open or not? Oh, I officially recording, you could cut off pieces. That's like the Rebbe writes in Niggas Kiddush. I'll be noscha yeshoin. I'm going to rely on your wisdom. We know that Lubavitch has like many levels, right? From go Chassidish Eden, big Rabbanim, v'chulu. Take, Eden was slinging Nigel Chassidus, and he began to learn Sinyanim, and do Mifsoim, and the words. And then you have many levels in between until v'chulu. Right? And one of the nekudas, the Rebbe himself did it in such a way. You see? The Rebbe wanted to be mekar mekurav in the far from Yiddishkeit. If the Lubavitch is going to be close-minded people, that only whoever picks, if the Rebbe would not, push the Rebbe down with Yisrael. The Rebbe Mesiras Nefesh to open up.
You say by design, the Rebbe made it that you could be part of Lubavitch, and but where you're holding or whatever the different levels of
in other words, but Be'emes sees, honestly, Be'emes sees that this Nakuda is for people that are far from Yiddishkeit. And it's hard for them to make the steps to become Tzadi Gomu, to become a full Chassid Kedeboy. So the Rebbe opened the Chabad, that's part of Mesiras Nefesh of the Rebbe. So, obviously, eigene Kinder, our own Lubavitcher kids, don't belong to this Nekude. They should be in the top, in the peak, right? There's a geschmack word of the Rebbe, very geschmack word. It's a geschmack word for Farbrengen. There's Rashi says in Sof Teire, Rashi says that Moshe Rabbeinu, when he passed away, Teire is Mishabech Moshe Rabbeinu, and then Rashi says that when he passed away, that Ve'ivko is a Beis Yisrael. Eden cried out him, but it doesn't say, Rashi adds, Ve'loi kol Beis Yisrael. Not all the Eden were crying. V'shenke be'yaroin, it says, Ve'ivko is a kol Beis Yisrael. So the Rebbe fragt, amen. The Torah praising Moshe Rabbeinu. Comes Rashi says, no, not exactly. Moshe Rabbeinu, not everyone was crying after Moshe Rabbeinu. After Aaron, everyone was crying. But it's negeh. Especially Rashi already wrote it before, legabe Aaron. If you're praising Moshe Rabbeinu, leave it alone. What's the point of you? To bring out sounds like negative. Says the Rebbe now. It says in the Medrash that Moshe Rabbeinu, Chesed ve'emes nifgoshu, ze Moshe ve'Aaron. Chesed is Moshe, and Emes is Chesed is Aaron, and Emes is Moshe. Aaron was Meshane, it says Oyev Shalom v'Redev Shalom, was Meshane, he was changing things. But the middle of Moshe Rabbeinu is Emes. So that's the Shvach of Moshe Rabbeinu. That he was no budging, no kunzen. That's the Emes. So I had an interesting experience. Farbrengen doch mit bochur, right? Mit Ingelait. So I asked him, what do you think? What is Chabad? Is Chabad Aaron or Moshe? Is Chabad Chesed or Emes? In other words, what's the hero you learn from this Indian? So interesting to hear the response. Most of the cases say Chabad. I mean, Baker Benir, Huh? Chesed, Amen, smiling to everyone, accepting everything.
Kol halev kol echad.
Yeah. So I say, 1 second. Let's see what the Rebbe says. The Rebbe in the end of Sicha spoke about it like kibbutz ze'iroi. In Avodas Hashem, Chesed Emes. So the Rebbe says in the Sicha, it's meant to look at the Sicha in Chelik Chov Daled, in Parshat Brochos, in Fasteren, because that's the end of the Torah. The Rebbe says like this. For sich allein, Emes. For him it's anders, Chesed. For yourself, use Emes, have expectation, demand from yourself. From another Yid, be mekarev, smile to him, accept him, וכו' וכו'. עד כאן is דברי הרב. יש להם הרנסות נקודה בדרך אפשר. את החינוך of the Rebbe בכלל, is eigene, it is מקורבים. I tell you, the Emes, one of the שינויים that changed when we were coming to the Rebbe, being some 70, getting involved in the Rebbe's inyanim, that was one as good as a change. When you're outside them, or in middle of 50-50, like, and the coming, you see more the Rebbe's chesed. The Rebbe's positive, siches, kiruv, v'chulu. Not before you hear such sharpkeit, the strength and the sharpness of the Emes. But you get more involved, the more answers of the Rebbe. Sabbath Ketch of the Rebbe. Like, oh. When the Rebbe wants, the expectation the Rebbe wants from Chassidim is be'ein arech from all the Weltische Eden. B'mchilas Kveit Rosam, and alle Weltische Eden. They say to Eden that Shemetero Mitzvahs, even the expectation of the Rebbe, in every aspect, even Tznias, the Rebbe said, how come they make mitzvah tant? If you know what mitzvah tant is, by the end of the chasane, and how they treat it in a Tznias, the Geifim. According to the Rebbe's expectation, not even Tznias. How come they do it? Because that's one answer of the Rebbe. In many areas, you see the expectation, limon nigle, limon chassidus, tulum kol kula, yechidas sabachim. None about the expectations from the Rebbe, that's the nekuda, the pshat zich, himself, and others have a bigger dimension. For herself, is completely emes. Higher expectation in Yerushalayim. So, anyway, I have this verbrengt. But
yeah, it's also you could think about this deeper. Because sometimes there's a yenim that also needs Moshe, and sometimes someone zich that needs a little more Aaron, whatever. Yeah,
100%.
It's not black and white. It goes together. It's two in yanim.
100%, 100%. Give you an interesting illustration. You want to hear the Rebbe's, experience by the Rebbe. Interesting illustration. That was Tesvavel Tov Shmemtes. Mashak passed away a few months before. Passed away Vavoda Tov Shmemtes. Mashak used to be in charge because the Frierdiker Rebbe appointed him. So he was Sai money, Sai Ruchnis, because the Frierdiker Rebbe appointed him. Mashak passed away. So B'teva Advarim, everyone is pulling the string to his side. And he as politics, Eden sagen, what's politics, that made a shidduch between sheker, lying, and chanufe, flattering. And they made a shidduch, and the baby was called politics. So, the Rebbe said a Sicha, he says to the Rebbe made a Seder on Lubavitch. Mamish, interesting, put things in, to be about Ruchni, and about Gashmi, and about includes, but I'm not going to go into the details. In the Sicha, the Rebbe spoke many cases about the Reichkeit of the Svavelun, to Farbrengen, celebration. Mamish, the Rebbe said, Lo Yoyom Tevim LeYisrael, 15 Be'elul. Should be such a Simcha, and the same scale of the word of Chazal, Lo Yoyom Tevim LeYisrael, 15 Be'elul. The Rebbe said, at the same time, in the Sicha and the Teich of Sicha, the Rebbe was, in the Sicha himself, you had Chesed and Emes. Very positive, but very Emes. Put things in by Dallas. We saw something very interesting. Maybe you saw it in other Dallas also, but in this Sicha I saw it very strong. When woman came, a child, or a Mekurev, the Rebbe smiled, v'chulu. When a Tomim came, always the Rebbe became very serious, kimat always. In this Dallas, the Rebbe gave out any annual member of Temchet Tvimim. The Rebbe gave such a sharp look. I'm telling you, it was mamish, nicht zu glauben. And at Kedekach was in German, I'm not going to say names, again, that he used to work in a Chatmimim before, and he went to business, nicht geheizte. When he came by Dallas, mit einmal der Rebbe, such a sharp look. Kino, the MS, dem Chatmimim ist doch, that's doch unser eigene Kind, it's our own children. The expectations should be, Pashit, Yerushalayim learning. Now I'm going back to the story with the fly. After this Akdame, you see the mashal, where you see it very strong, is the Rebbe speaks to kids. When the Rebbe speaks to children, Mamish, very interesting. Today you're looking for psychologists, for therapists, for this chochem, the other chochem. I'm not mevatel, I'm not putting down. Because sometimes you need it, it's not my nekudim. But the chinuch, we are from the Rebbe. And what I darf know more from them, the Rebbe spoke to children directly, without any memutzayim. The Rebbe spoke to children. I think the fear is deity. Every parent, every mechanech should push learn the Rebbe sichas that the Rebbe spoke to kids. And then, how do you mechanech kids? And share Shabbos table. Neem a word from Rebbe. You want to decorate with a story before, a story after, make it dramatic, make it interesting. But the medicine inside, besides the chocolate around it, should be the way the Rebbe speaks to kids. What do you see over them? מצד אחד, very positive. נשום, חלק אלה כמימל ממש. מצד שני, פשוט גיר שמיים כפשוטי. You have a captain who's not at the hora to make a bochur properly. Very reich and kudus. So another matter, I think, even though the Rebbe didn't speak to Chassidim and to bochur in such a language as the Rebbe spoke to children, maybe, because officially you graduated, you already have it. You don't have to go back to the basics. But that's the basic. If you didn't get it in the basic, you have to do it 18 years old or 40 years old. To take the Rebbe sichas to children and learn das mit apnimius. That's a certain nekuda of a certain combination of chesed ve'emes. It's all very positive, merdik positive. That you have a neshama, yismach Yisrael be'esav. Everything, ve'in Hashem nitzavalo, you're a child of the Eibishter. Mitzad sheni, the bottom line, the expectations is Pashti Yerushalayim. And then Chagav, and I hope Shpitz Chabad is not going to, people not going to have too much complaints. The Rebbe doesn't mention Shpitz Chabad things in this series. For children. To kids, yeah. The Rebbe doesn't. Yeah. The Rebbe speaks Pashut, Chassidische Yerushalayim. Pashut, a gesunte, healthy, very healthy, strong, healthy Yerushalayim. Established mit Chassidische daher, mit der Oimek of Chassidus. A Pashut language for children.
There's also all the rallies also were, Elam Shekid and this time, I don't know.
Exactly. Eichet. But Eichet, that's all. Kimad, the only opportunity the Rebbe spoke to Chassidim. It's Chassidish children. Right? And then, another nekude, בהמשך to this nekude. Another matter, adults also, in Legabe.
Can't forget about the fly, by the way.
And that's exactly what I'm getting to.
Okay.
The nekude is that we have to also treat ourselves, our chelik of our life, as a child also. Noch alle inyanim of Spitz Chabad, which is important, like I said before, the Rebbe did give a positive, noch all the negative comments, but also some positive comments for Spitz Chabad. But אפילו לא Spitz Chabad, החוסית כוס from the Rebbe's stories, and the Rebbe's inyanim, obviously. But you have to have this chelik in yourself, like the Rebbe had a line, the Rebbe used to kochen, אני מספר ללידה זה התינוק. It says in the Derech Tzemach Tzedek, that it was one of the Nukabole, one of the Gdela between Hashem and Machenim, that it was a big Mekubel. It says, but Sof Kosof, Nochal Kavan, Hani Mispal Ledas, Ze Atinik. So one of the Nekudas is that the Rebbe a lot of times spoke, we felt. The Rebbe speaks about a child, but the Rebbe Memes described himself. And that's the story that I'm getting to. It was one of the rallies, Tavshim Emtes. Mashpia rally in those years. This year, Tavshim Emtes, the Rebbe said, Sichas, like Rebbe Godel. During the week, like besides Shabbosim, like every opportunity. So a camp came back to the Rebbe turned into a rally. They gave me just one minche. one day, usually Rabbi Yank was the translator. After the Sicha, he used to translate in English. And it was one of the Rebbe was, surprisingly, turning to Ali. So the only one who was there, Avrohom Mann, he was there. So he had to translate.
That's when that's a Sicha that Rebbe explained the Mishnah, Machat in the Sunnah Malas HaMeira, right?
Yeah, it was also a story. Yeah, a story with the man. One of the Sichas in this time, I don't remember who was the translator. In the middle of the Sicha, the Rebbe was standing on the stand and listened to the translation in English after the Rebbe said the Sicha, and a fly went by on the Rebbe stand. A fly. So the Rebbe made a motion to chase away the fly. So for bochur was very interesting. Like, it's an interesting vision.
It's an interesting thing that you never thought that Rebbe did.
Yeah, thank you. But the Rebbe, any nikud of the Rebbe, because we love the Rebbe. So, any nikud
of the Rebbe. Also by the Rebbe, also everything by the Rebbe is exact.
Exactly.
The way the Rebbe comes into Farbrengen every time is usually the same, like it's exact.
Yeah,
so I think
100%.
100%. Yeah, like, what is
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I'm not going to go into it now, but I saw certain minhagim and halachas that it took me time to catch. But once I caught a lot of details that the Rebbe was like kind of hiding, but the Rebbe was mehader in very interesting hidurim that the Rebbe didn't make a ganze ma'isa about, but if you were able to grab it, to see it and to realize it, was very interesting. It's, like you said, every ma'isa of the Rebbe is meduyik. So it was interesting. Back to the story, it was very interesting. Shabbos, you could check it out, the Sicha. Bilti Muge, it's not in the Muge, the Sicha. Maybe it's in my Enoch, whatever. Kopanim, I don't know if you're interested in Menachem. Kopanim, I'm for sure the Rebbe said it. The Rebbe said, a kind weiß knows as far as zwei Sachen. The Eibishter mit him. A child knows there's only two things. Hashem and him. And the Rebbe explained. I'm not saying the Losh, but the Techen was, alles know, wie man weiß as far as Eibishter. Kamu גם פשוט, obviously זה Eibishter. How does know, man weiß as there is though. How does know that he also exists. Besed, se kommt a Fliegen, macht a Tnue mit die Hand oder andere Tnue. Das was Lashen Kotschi. Tnue mit die Hand oder andere Tnue, weiß as there is though. When he makes a motion with his hand to chase away the fly, or the Rebbe said, or another motion. In this case, flying, making it fly with the blowing it up. So then he knows that he exists. Because by a child, he's only the Eibishter and him. So then with Farbrengen them is bochur. That the Rebbe is the ultimate of a nimisfal atinik. After all the inyanim of learning Nigle and Chassidus and Mechadash Chidushim Nifloim B'Yesa, I can show you, nicht the Gates. Mamish, with one word of the Rebbe, Me'edik Chidushim. But the Yerushalayim and the connection to the Eibishter is like a child. And him is part of the atinik.
Okay, so you're talking about Yerushalayim. What's another? I mean, are there other nekudas of where you see like the Hatgasha from the Rebbe and Yerushalayim, basic Yerushalayim that you saw? We see.
So, erstens nekuda I said before, like Moshe Sicha of the Rebbe speaks to kids, you see it very, very, very strong. The nekuda, another nekuda that Pashat. I'm going to explain myself. That sometimes I feel Chassidus expectations is obviously bit b'metzias. Or Beloshon Mamorim is Yichud Eloi. Yichud Eloi means that Elokus is the only thing existing. The metzias of Welt is not Tefes Mokim. Mele the metzias of Yetzer Hara is not Tefes Mokim. But in other words, sometimes you speak about a certain level of Kedusha that you work on yourself and you want to finish Shas, you want to feel Choshev in a union of Kedusha. So, Bit Metzia says, oh, you have to even go out even of this Metzias of Kedusha. Right? Mitzad Sheni, if I'm explaining myself correct, if not, explain what I mean. But the Nekuda is that Bit Metzias is not just have a Shlemus in Kedusha, even in go out of your Metzias and care about another Yid Lemoshen, go out of your Ruchnis Dike Dages, and in Shleimusen, and walk of another Yid. That's one aspect of it.
The Rebbe likes talking about that a lot.
Huh?
The Rebbe likes talking about that a lot. Like, listening to Farbrengen, that whatever, if you have time, you're going to sit and learn noch a bit of chassidus. Like, the Rebbe likes speaking to those that have a lot of shleimus. Like, they also should break through their shleimus and then tune up mayonis or whatever. Yeah.
Right. So there's a certain kude that a certain bavonish that you see in the Rebbe always bavons also this nekude. In other words, not to forget about the basics. Even though it's bit b'metzias and everything, but to make sure to bavon the basics. So in top of it, that you do have to work on yourself and work as an Hashem. So even go out l'mayim d'levagbole and go out of your metzias completely. Lemoshel, the ma'im of the Rebbe very aveda dikemayim lefich niku shmom seifim tafshin tazayin. It's a musa kilo musa dikemayim. But the Rebbe says over there in the beginning an interesting statement. He says even though we speak about bit b'metzias completely and not to care about Yidages, but that's kilo. The techen is that after you have you metzias of Gdusha, which is you have a certain in Hashem, then you go even higher. But in other words, it's not taking away from the shleimus, from the basics. The mashpia Sicha of the Rebbe speaking to children, you see it's very clear that the Rebbe develops the basic Yerushalayim in Achsidus Sheneifen, and then the Rebbe goes even higher than this. Iskashos v'chulu bitl l'mayim d'levagbole. But I want to make out, maybe it's a deep nekud I have to explain more. I'm just saying Lamish and I'm not sure this nekud. But one of the nekud is interesting, that when a bochur wrote to the Rebbe, that he put himself into learning. The Rebbe showed this bochur made the not always. Like I said before, the Rebbe from bochur expect they should do things on their own. Not like I'm a poor that if you always smile to him. It's a child, From there, I don't have to like you. I don't have to. But there was some individual bochim that the Rebbe showed him, and lelamed al klal kula yotzu. Ein achaber. Not a friend of mine. He wrote to the Rebbe that he learned Gemara Shabbos, he put himself into a certain perek, whatever, he learned Shabbos, Tafshinun, the Yeshiva. The Rebbe wrote him a whole message, Cheloch le'raise, Michol Danov, Shliach. He wrote to the Rebbe, he learned one maimah b'al peh. The Rebbe wrote to him, מצד עצמי, גורם לחסרו אחריו. In other words, Nasut Nekude, that the Rebbe encouraged very strong and the Aveda of Seder Mesuder, the Aveda of putting yourself into learning, to Yerushalayim. And in top of it, you have a Nekuda of the Nekuda, a certain Nekuda of forgetting about, go out of even the Shleimus of Kedusha and go to man in the. But sometimes, if you have stage 2, you have to make sure to not forget about stage 1. If I'm explaining myself correctly. So some interesting nekuda. Stuff shememtes. That's a kind of fearsome reason that for some people they like to have. And then so the Rebbe gave a bochur for the guest, which means the Rebbe said every night Sukkos, Baruch Hashem had a schus that every night the Rebbe spoke. The Chassidim was merdik, very geschmack gezeres. I described one of them before. Chalamed Sukkos. The Nigle was mitor nishlan on Shabbos. And it was very high Sicha. The Rebbe spoke like yes, it's tashed. So it was Tafshim Tes. It was the Rebbe went to the sukkah to give a bochur to the guest. So the Rebbe was mechaber the guest, and the biggest kibbutz, the Rebbe went to the sukkah to give them a bochur. The sukkah was the sukkah and the chutz of some 70. So the Rebbe walks in. The Rebbe wanted to see the all land from Parkway until the end of the Chotzer. And the Rebbe wanted to wish Yeruslavsky, Alva Sholem, the father of the Rav, he should lead him. Moshe. So the Rebbe was insisting he should go in front of the Rebbe. So he used to go like this.
That was the Seder, yeah.
Was the Seder. Anyway, and by the end of the Sukkah, they made a stage with a the stander facing to the guest, to the whole length of some to the Sukkah. Rebbe gave a bochur. The Rebbe comes into the Sukkah. Mit einmal, the Rebbe takes the standard. I was mamish next to the Rebbe. The Rebbe takes the standard. Instead of, like the stand in front of the whole sukkah, pushing it aside. The side is the wall of Psalm 70. 2.5 people there. Instead of speaking to facing the whole crowd. It was like a wonder. But I was there a few minutes before. And I saw something interesting. Unfortunately, in the sukkah was lamps and wires, light bulbs. And the light bulb with the wire fell down. Instead of, the sukkah fell down, not fell down completely, like it was hanging in top of the Rebbe's standard. So one Chochem decided, in honor of the Rebbe, he picked it up to organize it, whatever it is. Pashut mitzatkovet of the Rebbe. It's muktzeh, and people were yelling against him. I was there. Yeah, muktzeh. But Vesach, he decided he's allowed to do it, unfortunately. Begash b'derech hatev, the Rebbe couldn't see it. And the Rebbe walked in after.
That wasn't there.
There wasn't there. But then we saw that the Rebbe Pashut took the standard and put it aside, kilu not to have annoy from the muktzeh that he did. Kivyocha for the Rebbe's covered. It's just interesting. It's a person which I didn't see it in any human, and I myself I never mefasim it b'chsav. It's just one dogma. The stars of the Gmoes, the heroes of the Rebbe. I'm not going to go into it. It's not a place, but the Rebbe's interesting dogma, chavivos of a mitzvah. It's a small nekuda, but it says that Tnu Sadik. מכל שכן ראי השמיע סקויל, yeah? So I was wondering, what's the pshat, Tnu Sadik, ומכל שכן ראי השמיע סקויל? What's the difference between Tnu Sadik or ראי השמיע סקויל? ראי, אידוך התנועה וצדיק. What's the two things? What's the מכל שכן?
Tnu means a movement.
A movement, you see it.
Okay.
Maybe the pshat is Chevra after Gimel Tammuz Bochim that they hear about a Tnu of the Rebbe even if they didn't see it, but a Tnu Sadik Mikol Shekein Rei Yoshmi Askol Mikol Shekein someone was there to actually see it. But Akapanim the Rebbe after Krishme, so after the Rebbe killed the 6th time in Lat Kemes, when I was in the Rebbe's home, I was able to hap it. The Rebbe Dam Tatom after the sacrifice of the Rebbetzin. She was much closer, able to see it more. The Rebbe gave like a little look, like a goodbye to the tzitzis. A second, a split moment. The Chavivus, it's a small tnuah. The Chavivus, the Rebbe all the tzitzis, and now he has to let the tzitzis go. So, a short moment. It's merdik to see it. The Chavivus of a mitzvah. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So
and speaking of Tavshim Tes, I can tell you one interesting nekuda that wraps around a lot of the nekudas he spoke before. That Mitzad Echad Chassidus, the Rebbe is not just a nice genius that says Chassidus. The Rebbe lives Chassidus and Neptune's Uf. And they say, try. The Rebbe gives us the ability to pick us up, to live with the emes, say the basic Indian, say in the Erste Indian, few days after this event. After I told you before the sukkah, in the sukkah for the guest of the Orchim, was Leisim Chasteret Tavshim Tes. And Leisim Chasteret Tavshim Tes, he went to Aluche, biggest Mesiras Nefesh, to miss the Rebbe's, part of the Rebbe's Farbrengen. So you try not to be a smart boy, so whatever they send you, you went.
So you went?
Yeah, and the Rebbe said, yeah.
Someone told me once that I didn't want to be a smart boy, but I was also not a stupid boy. I didn't go down much far. Yeah.
So anyway, so I went to shul, but on the way back, we used to run back like a meshugai. Just run in a bike because every 5 minutes, it's such a Leisim Chasteret was one of the most geschmacke farbrengens. Nerdige geschmacke farbrengens. Every 5 minutes made a difference. So we used to run like a meshugai. Anyway, I came to some 70. I came Baruch Hashem fair early, and then the Rebbe said to sing all the nigunim of the Rebbeim. It was an exceptional thing, never happened before or after. To sing Leisim Chasteret, the nigunim of all the Rebbeim. And after me, middle of one of the nigunim, Rebbe Lazar, Rebbe Shliach to Russia, was then a bochur. It was then a bochur, I think. Maybe he was a man. No, not again. I'm not sure when he got married. I remember when we went to Shlichus to Russia, we went to the airport. Kitchen. But I got on him. He came back from Taluche after me. So he comes into some Sunday, fragt me, nu, was tut sich? Like, what's happening? So I told him that the Rebbe sang to sing all the nigunim of the Rabbein. He says, oh, sit noch sein lebendig. Something is going to happen. It's not Stamazé. By the end of all the nigunim, there's the 9 nigunim of the Rabbein. Right? You calculate, it comes out 9 nigunim. And when Mashiach would come, would be the Shiro HaSiris. Attention. The Rebbe was aufgelegt, like very happy, if you could say, like very aufgelegt, like in a simcha dikem mood. The Rebbe was yelling. After the 9 nigunim, the Rebbe said like this, we weiß nicht genau, was hat sein der Shiro HaSiris, we don't know exactly what's going to be the 10th Shiro of Mashiach. Aber a sichere Sach, one thing for sure, der Teichen, what's going to be all the idea behind it, what's going to be the idea of the Shiro HaSiris, the Rebbe started to sing. Basically, and mit the Rebbe stood up and the Rebbe was dancing. So remember, the Rebbe says, what is Mashiach all about? What is Chassidus all about? As that's the good of everything. So it's not just to say, Mashiach is going to come, he's going to come, Shemayim Cheshivas is going to do superficial things. Then the good of Mashiach is to make out your own neshama, your own connection to the Eibishter. That's the gist of it. Is not yet kavod. The only Yerushalayim that happened a few days before, that the Rebbe Shof Tzilim, it's all based on the same nekudah. We stay eat, we have a neshama, find the Eibishter of the world, and they have to just live with the Eibus.
Okay, Menedik, Yeshakech Rabbi Mann for this Farbrengen.
Yeah, simcha.
Okay, and
fine.
Flachen, Hashpa, and the bochur, and through this, it's beyond bochur. So,
Amen. Amen. Be'ez Hashem.
Okay, Zayik Zed Yeshakech.
Okay, Zayik Zed Gott.